Guys, welcome to the Sunday Night Roundtable. I am your host, Jason, and with me this week is the Frito Bandito himself. Frito, say hey to all the people watching so far.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Tremendous off season. Roundtable's back again, and excited to jump in and let's get talking about some of this stuff.
And with the Frito, we also got Justin fresh off a hiatus. I think Justin was, based off the Viking haircut, wandering through the mountains for sure. I think he did that week of darkness with Aaron Rodgers. Now, the funny thing about that is it was darkness, so Aaron didn't know he was there. They touched tips maybe once or twice, but they're good. Justin, how's it going, buddy?
Going good, but just the tip. So it's great to be here on the roundtable. I've not had the opportunity to be graced by the presence of you beautiful people since I've been back. So this is awesome. I hope you guys have been doing really well without me, and I'm excited to be back. Excited to talk about some free agent stuff and some other off-season stuff that's been going down. So, but first, before we get started, let me update you on all of the amazing things that the Colts have done so far this offseason. And we're done.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that was short. We're going to start with patreon.com/toilets-titles. Go to patreon.com/toilets-titles. All kinds of cool articles. You can jump on our in our gilded chats, Frankenstank, Listener League. Yeah, go to Toilets Titles, patreon.com/toilets-titles. All kinds of cool stuff at every donation level. I think even there was $1 million one where Joe said you could come over and hang out with him. And then you've got toiletstyles.com. Go to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We are trying to get to 1,000. We're, I think, like at last count, 18 shy. By the end of this video, I'm expecting to be less than that. So guys, go like and subscribe. That helps us a ton. So if you can do that, go do that. And again, Justin's putting up toiletstyles.com where we've got videos, articles, NFL, and fantasy content. Man, it's non-stop content from this team. Right before us, there's an incredible podcast with Coach just about the Cowboys. And if you haven't left watching after I say those words, go check that out as well, because pretty cool Cowboys content with Coach. All right. So this roundtable show is going to be, I think they said it, NFL free agency and team news. The way I want you to think of it is it's an escape if you're going to watch Sunday night from your family. And it is a break before you go to work on Monday. If you decide to go ahead and listen Monday morning, it's a recap of all the last week's news and notes. And it's great. It's a little escape from either from your work or from your home life, all about the NFL. And the NFL is still talking about Lamar Jackson, although teams aren't talking to Lamar Jackson. It's a very interesting phenomenon going on. Now, it came out this week that Lamar actually asked to be traded. So far, no real takers, and the rumors this week were headlined by the Patriots. I believe it was Asante Samuel that said, "Hey, man, you don't want to play in New England. You don't want to play for Bill Belichick." Lamar says he doesn't need a fully guaranteed contract, but he does want one equal to his value. So that leads to the question, guys, what is his value? And we talked a little bit before. I've got the top 10 quarterback contracts in our show notes. These guys have looked over it a little bit. So on this chart, where is his value? And are we talking actual guaranteed money or total value, which is more important to Lamar at this point?
Yeah, so if you sit there and think about it, if Lamar Jackson can make it through a whole season, wouldn't you think his contract should be better than Deshaun Watson, the way he plays and everything? I mean, if he just stayed healthy and stuff like that, I mean, I like to think he's better than Deshaun Watson and everything. But man, what is it? $230 million guaranteed? I don't think anybody deserves that much guaranteed. I might be wrong and everything, but if I go down and look at what we have in front of us and everything, okay, look, let's put it right there around Kyler Murray, above Kyler Murray, between Russell Wilson and everything, that kind of guarantee and everything. Look, Mahomes got a huge contract, but did he get a lot of guaranteed? Lamar Jackson should get that same kind of contract because he'll get so much money outside of just his contract alone from deals and everything. So my thoughts.
You brought up Mahomes, and compared to some of these other contract deals, Mahomes' deal looks pretty good right now. He didn't get a lot of guaranteed, but that's probably because he knows he's the face of the franchise for the life of that contract. So he's going to get most of that money, even if it's not guaranteed, because he's going to play there for a long time.
Right.
Justin, taking a look at that list, where do you think he's going to end up as far as total guarantees? Where does he compare to some of these top players?
Well, first off, if we're going to talk about the human predator there in Cleveland and say that he's not even worth a box of Cracker Jacks to play football for a living. So if that dude is worth $230 million, then any player should be worth more than that. But anyhow, I digress. I'm taking his contract out of this list altogether because that's just Cleveland being Cleveland. They really Cleveland that one up. You really browned that one, didn't you?
So let me jump in there. One interesting Twitter thing I saw was, everybody gave Cleveland crap for that contract, but look what that contract did to the Ravens. Like, that contract is losing the Ravens Lamar Jackson. It's kind of a twofer.
Yeah, they screwed themselves and the Ravens. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Ravens, come and join us. He definitely, at this point in his career, Lamar absolutely deserves more money than Matthew Stafford. We know that he's a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford, and that is $160 million with $63 million guaranteed. If he's healthy, I have no problem with giving him close to Josh Allen type level money here. The problem is you can't guarantee he's going to be healthy. But before we even talk about his value in contract, we got to talk about his value in trade as well. Because I have a short right here on our YouTube channel with Toilets to Titles, and this short talks about how I believe 100% that Lamar's going to be staying in Baltimore and playing for the Ravens, because I don't think the value is there for him in trade for what the Ravens are going to want. And that's why you're not hearing a lot of trade talks, even after Lamar came out and said that he would like a trade. Like, it's because teams don't want to give up 2 first-round picks for a quarterback when you have a lot of decent quarterbacks this season and even more good quarterbacks coming up next season in the draft. The teams that are quarterback needy are also needy in a lot of other places. They can't give up all these draft picks. They're not going to pull a Carolina Panthers.
So I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if you're the Falcons and you need a quarterback desperately, and we can talk about potential landing spots, or if you're the Falcons and you need a quarterback, I don't know, man. I might take Lamar Jackson and give up 2 firsts if that's what the asking price is. Like, it's
if
a
you're
guaranteed.
If you're willing to give up 3 draft picks for Trey Lance, why wouldn't you want to give up 2 for Lamar Jackson?
Well, they shouldn't have given up 3 draft picks for Trey Lance to start. But
look what Carolina did too.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I guess
Sorry to interrupt, Jason.
Teams out there that are willing to give up their future, but it's dumb. It's not like you're using Atlanta as an example. Why not just get Hendon Hooker at the end of the first round? Because you're picking at the end of the first round, mid to late first round. Take Hendon Hooker there. See what Ritter's got this season. If he ends up tanking you got a great pick next season with a healthy Hendon Hooker. So you have other options and now you can still keep your other first round draft picks to build around Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I mean, it's more, I think, the contract than it is just the picks, because let's face it, a bunch of teams this year are going to waste a first-round draft pick on guys that aren't going to pan out. And those same teams are probably going to pick a bad draft pick next year, and that first-round draft pick's not going to pan out. What might pan out for sure is a first-round MVP kind of talent like Lamar Jackson. The problem is a lot of the teams that would want to do that don't have the cap to do that and give up the picks. But if you're a later round team, I mean, look, the Lions and our next note here is that Dan Campbell says they're going to roll with Jared Goff. They're not going to be pursuing Jackson. So, but the Lions to me would have been the perfect spot because they've got a running game. They've got weapons on the outside. Their wide receivers would be the best Lamar ever played with. They have some money, so they could free up some space and actually make it work with him. Their draft pick isn't super early, so it's not like they're in, they just missed the playoffs, so it's not like they're in contention for one of the top quarterbacks anyway. Like, the Lions, to me, make the most sense, and then especially if you add Lamar, next year's first would be pretty late, especially considering, Green Bay's about to get worse, the Bears are worse, like, those teams in the North are not going to be that good. So the Lions would have a shot to win that division, especially picking up. They have a shot to win it now, but like go add Lamar Jackson to it, put Goff on a different team. Now Goff's going to the Ravens, whatever. Like I think they'd have a huge chance to win that division. So like that pick next year would be late. So to me, the 2 first rounders it's a small price to pay for an MVP quarterback in a league where there's a lot of mediocre quarterback play.
That one actually makes sense because they don't need the draft picks. They already have a good young team built ready for a good quarterback. I agree with that. Could you imagine if Lamar stayed healthy in that offense?
Oh man, it would be fun to watch, and adding Swift back there. They've got weapons all over the field. Hawkinson would be really nice there at that point too, right? Like if they hadn't traded him in division, but still, they just said they weren't going to do it, which does surprise me because I think that's the perfect landing spot of everywhere available. Go ahead, Frito.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking to Lions and stuff, but you were leading into Atlanta. Atlanta's a great fit too. I mean, look, you could give up 2 first picks and trade Ritter away to Baltimore and everything. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got Tyler Algier and stuff like that. Their defense was not bad. They're a young defense and stuff that really started gelling well last year and everything. So, man, give me Lamar Jackson with Kyle Pitts and Drake London for the next 4 or 5 years and everything, because you don't have to sign Pitts for another 3 years, and you could use your fifth year option. You don't have to strike Drake London for another 4 or 5 years and stuff like that. Both of them should be star status within the next year and a half. They're pretty much star status, but they're being better than what they're doing. Now all you have to do is focus on keeping that line there and just working on bringing up your defense to the rest of your drafts. You don't need that first pick overall to hit on some nice caliber players.
And, we've got it later in the doc. We'll go ahead and bring it up because we're talking Falcons heavy. Mentioning the Falcons, they added Calais Campbell, which is some nice senior leadership for that defense. They added Scotty Miller, who had like an amazing couple of catches, Tampa Bay Super Bowl run. Everybody will remember right before halftime, like that bomb at the NFC Championship game right before halftime, and it put the Bucs ahead and left them ahead. But like a couple of good moves there. I think the only real issue I'd have for like the Ravens is, you've got Drake London, you've got Kyle Pitts. I don't know. I'd still need a second wide receiver there, something better than Scotty Miller, right? For Lamar to throw to. But again, what does Arthur Smith love to do? He loves to run. It just adds more to that having Lamar Jackson back there and able. Justin, you had your hands up.
Yeah, real quick. They also signed Jesse Bates at safety. They signed David Onyemata at defensive tackle, Caleb McGarry at right tackle, because that right side of that offensive line was deplorable last season. So that's a huge help there. Caden Ellis at the outside linebacker spot. I mean, those are all good signings. They really did make a lot of offseason moves for sure.
And then Taylor Heineke is a backup in case Lamar if they traded for Lamar, in case Lamar didn't, he'd be a good backup. And the South is awful, right? So the South is up for grabs, where the best quarterback is arguably Derek Carr.
See, I still don't like the move, but you guys have absolutely solid arguments for why it would be smart for Atlanta. Like if they did do it, I could totally see it now. But
it's especially in a division that's easy to win, which is again why like the Lions NFC, there's not a lot of quarterbacks to be had, right? But the Lions and the Falcons could be poised to make a big splash with him and win their division. So all right, going from hey Campy, yeah, it's a no shave April or whatever it is. I don't know. But we're switching from one quarterback potentially being traded to another quarterback potentially being traded. Latest on the Aaron Rodgers deal, the Jets and Packers have still yet to complete the deal. The sticking point seems to be the Jets are wanting protection on picks if Rodgers only plays 1 year and then retires. The Packers have backed down from publicly stating they will need a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers, which is good because I don't think anybody was ever going to do that. But guys, what do you think? It has to get done by the draft, right? There's no real rush until the draft.
Now, just as we said earlier, I did spend a week with Aaron Rodgers in the dark week camp thing, and my biggest concern for him going to New York is I told him he's got to make sure that he keeps his mom away from Zach Wilson. Like that's a must. So I believe that's going to be in the contract somewhere, and that's what's holding up the contract negotiations right now.
To be fair, I've heard that he is not a big fan of his family and vice versa. So like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't care what his mom does with Zach Wilson.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, he didn't really lead that on, but I thought for a second that
coming from the man that was in the cave with him. So, Justin, this is great inside stuff. I really appreciate this.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so I was going to shave the beard with it, but the only part that irritates me is that part over the mouth, over that top lip. It's so hard to keep that trimmed and keep it maintained without eating it when you eat, and it's nasty.
Yep. Oh, I agree. I'm actually there right now. That's what I'm doing after.
And I gotta say, Jason, man, you are looking skinny, dude.
I appreciate that. I am. I've lost a total of 55 pounds now.
Yeah.
I am planning on being under 220 when we go to the expo.
I definitely cannot get drunk at the expo this year. That might lead to some trouble if you keep looking that good.
well, I haven't hit the gym yet, but just look, ladies, look out.
Or don't look out.
Or don't look out. I've been married 22 years. Nothing's happening with anybody. It's fine. All right. Yeah, so I mean, the deal's gonna get done, right? Like, there's no chance. The Jets could technically pivot off into Lamar Jackson, but like, they're focusing on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is their guy. They're not going to be doing anything else. So I think like it's all just, we'll see what their compensation ends up being.
Well, they need to hope that. So, because if you wait this whole time through free agency, lost on everything that you did lose out on, and you don't sign him, look, they got a valid concern. You know, they don't want Rodgers leaving after this first year if they're going to give up the capital that they'll be giving up for him and everything. So they're looking into it. But on the same token, man, after all the talk with Green Bay, going with Jordan Love, man, just get the job done and let's move on and everything and stuff like that. This is what makes offseason more interesting. But on the same token, we hear it every day. It's the soap opera of the freaking NFL.
I mean, it's dragging on, but really there's nothing pushing it forward until it has to. Like, it's not like they're going to be meeting up for practice. It'd be nice if Aaron got the playbook, but the playbook's going to be, hey, Aaron, what do you want to throw out there? So, there's nothing really that's forcing this to get done until it actually has to get done at the draft. Yeah. By the time these players want to play. Now, I've said it. I've probably a couple of people have said it by now. I hope whatever pick Green Bay gets for Aaron Rodgers is a wide receiver.
Kick him in the pants on his way out, right?
On his way out. Why not?
What's the percentage? What's the percentage that he retires after 1 year with Jets?
I think he stays for a couple seasons at least.
I think he does the drama where he might retire, he might not retire, he might retire, he might not retire, and then he actually ends up coming back and playing.
Or he pulls a Brett Favre. He goes to the Jets for one season and then goes to the Vikings when Kirk Cousins is on his way out.
Yeah.
Just like Favre did.
It would, it'd be fitting, right?
It would show how much these Green Bay quarterbacks hate Green Bay.
There was a great, and I can't remember the name of the podcast, and I'll find it and I'll post it on YouTube later. There was a great behind the scenes on the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, like that whole. It was a versus, and they do versus all the like different verses. So they did Shaq versus Kobe. They did Aaron Rodgers versus Brett Favre, and it was like a several episode podcast. And I'll plug them for free, but like it was incredible listening to, and it's amazing how similar like this the Love Rodgers thing is to Favre Rodgers. So anyway, it was a pretty cool thing. I'll track it down and post it up here. George is the one that turned me on to that. So, next topic, we've got OBJ rumors of the week. The latest rumor is that the Jets are the front runner to land him. He also met with the Ravens, and the Ravens are trying to make a push. My guess is the holdup there is they're probably waiting to make sure Rodgers actually goes before OBJ signs with them, because like he's not playing with Zach Wilson, right? Like he's like, I'm not signing with the Jets if Zach Wilson's the quarterback. So latest salary rumor for OBJ is that he's seeking $15 million a year, though that didn't come straight from him. And then the last rumor, not straight from him, was $20 million a year, which he said was not what he was looking for. Offers are looking closer to $8 to $10 million range, which seems more likely given his age and coming off the surgery he came off of last year. So what do you guys think of the Jets being a potential landing spot, or the Ravens? And I guess we're going to have to assume if he goes to the Ravens, it's because Lamar's back.
That will be the only reason why he goes there, and that's probably what's going to be holding. If it's on the table, that's the only option he's going to go there. There's no way he's going to sign there. And me and Joe, we got a bathroom board bet on OBJ that I said he won't receive. He'll receive less than 12. There's him and D now we're saying that they'll receive over 12. There's no way he receives over 12. Someone ain't going to give him that because of his injury history. Look, he got 2 surgeries coming that he's been back from and stuff like that. And look, I get these one-hand catches and everything, but no one's going to pay him that kind of money until they see him stay healthy. It's kind of like a Lamar Jackson kind of thing if you really sit there and think about it. But he won't go to Baltimore unless Lamar is there. So that's got to hold off. You got to wait and see what happens to Rodgers before he even goes there and everything. It's just kind of one of those things you got to see what happens with these 2 teams, to be honest with you. I think those are the 2 lead runners and stuff like that. He fit well there in Baltimore with Lamar too, if you really sit there and think about it.
So Justin, I'm going to take Frito's prompt there, and I would actually take the over on 12. And here's the reason: Lazard got 11. Like, if a guy like Alan Lazard got 11, I gotta think that somebody like OBJ on a 1-year deal could get 12. But Justin, where do you fall?
I mean, it's kind of hard to justify paying a guy $12 million that only plays the playoffs, right? Isn't that what he said? He said, what's the point of playing regular season? Just sign me in the playoffs. And then the Cowboys or whoever else didn't actually sign him. I just thought that was funny too. The guy just legitimately thinks that he is that good that he can dictate where he's going to go, how much he makes, and everything else. Like, to an extent, sure, yeah, you used to be that good. You're coming off of an ACL. You're coming off of a second serious injury. You are what you are. And right now we don't know exactly what that is. And I don't know. I would not, if I were a GM, I would not pay the guy $12 million. But I also probably would not have paid Alan Lazard $12 million either. So, so I guess if you're comparing him to Alan Lazard, sure, yeah, he deserves more than $12 million. But again, that's like trying to compare where we think Lamar's contract should fall based off of what other quarterbacks make, because a lot of other quarterbacks aren't making what they should either. So it's just kind of difficult to make that kind of comparison. But it does show that there are teams out there willing to do it, for sure.
The only way he makes $12 million is going to be based off of incentives and bonuses that they're going to throw in there when they sign him. That's the only way he'll make over $12 million, and that's high possibility with injury status, injury bonuses, roster spots, and all that.
Yeah, I agree. All right. The Cardinals, speaking of wide receivers, the Cardinals have given teams permission to talk directly to DeAndre Hopkins. It has been rumored that a second gets it done for DeAndre Hopkins, but a lot of teams are looking to restructure his deal because he's due $19 million this season. And while $19 million for peak DeAndre Hopkins seems like a good deal, teams don't know they're getting peak DeAndre Hopkins. Now, a second and $19 million for DeAndre Hopkins, who says no?
19 million. I think if I have a lot of salary cap space, I'm okay with it. Just especially if I'm contending, if I'm at that point where I need that wide receiver to put me over the top, and I have the cap space, then yeah, I think I would probably do it. But that's a very small number of teams, I'm sure.
So 3 teams, and I'm going to throw all 3 out. I think all 3 could use him. He's not needed by 2 of the 3 teams. He's desperately needed by 1. Desperately needed by the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't think that they are contenders. I don't think I would pay $19 million for a short-term guy to make me get a worse draft pick.
So here's what I think about that. I think their defense keeps them in most seasons, most games. And I think Mac Jones desperately needs a wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins because Mac Jones regressed last year. And if a lot of that has to do with playmakers at the wide receiver, like New England's been terrible at picking wide receivers of late. You know, they got guys early, you know, during the Tom Brady years that came out of nowhere and ended up being pretty good. But, you know, lately their wide receivers have been terrible. So you need something from Mac Jones. Now, the other two I've got, both contenders, Kansas City and Buffalo.
So just to take one step before I jump on Buffalo is Patriots. They are terrible at drafting receivers. Every time they have good receivers, it's where they pick up in free agency or in trades. I mean, Moss, when he came over, you know, back in the day, I mean, he will strive in that offense and everything, which would be a good move for the Patriots and stuff. And maybe it does make them contenders. Just like Jason was saying, their defense is pretty stout, and they got Stevenson in the backfield and everything. They got to get another receiver since they got rid of Jacoby Myers. So that's an option down the road. It ain't like they're paying anybody any huge amounts of contracts, correct?
Right.
So,
and they're still on a rookie deal with their quarterback. So,
well, what do you guys think of this? If a team that needs that quarterback is right there, that right now he's guaranteed that the total amount guaranteed on his contract is a total of $33 million over the next 2 years, almost 34. You could easily restructure that contract, guarantee him $39 million over 3 years instead of 2 years. Then you're paying him on average roughly about $13 million per year. That seems a little bit more justifiable for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. So that's probably what they're looking at when they're talking about restructuring a deal. The amount of guaranteed is so high. The only way to entice him to do it would be to give him another year and give him more guaranteed, but spread it out to a point where it makes sense for the team.
You can also add a void year if you had to, right? Like you can do stuff like that, which hurts you down the road. But, you know, and a lot of teams, you know, again, I threw out Kansas City, I threw out Buffalo. They'd have to do some shenanigans like that because they don't have as much under the cap because, again, they're not on a rookie deal with their quarterbacks. Although, like we said earlier, Patrick Mahomes kind of looks like a steal compared to some of the contracts now. He's still making a lot. So, you know, I wish we would start talking about percentage against the cap versus total numbers when we talk about these things. I wish that was how the number was reported because I think as these quarterback contracts age, they get more and more team friendly basically because the market's reset every year by another quarterback. So percentage against the cap would be a much nicer number to pay attention to. And as the cap goes up.
You should create that app.
I might go do that. Like it's an idea I had here live on the air. So if somebody wants to steal it, go ahead. But I might go do that because I think it's a more accurate representation of how bad these players hurt teams.
So if we patent this episode, they can't do that, right?
Maybe. I don't know how any of that works. I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
We could try and then just try to sue them later and let them do all the work to build it.
And then just jump on their shoulders and just get some cash. I'm down with that too. A lot less for me to do. All right. The Titans GM Rand Carthorne. I can't read tonight. Said both the team and Derrick Henry are in a good place when they were asked about their relationship after reportedly shopping. The GM said the rumors about shopping him around were erroneous, so they weren't actually shopping him around. It sounds to me like they shopped him around, tried to do it quietly, didn't get anybody. Derrick Henry heard about it, and now, you know, hey, bud, please don't be mad at us.
Yeah, look, ain't nobody going to I mean, look, as stellar as he's been and stuff like that, nobody's going to give up money or picks for a running back like back in the days and everything and stuff like that. I mean, if anything, you're getting a third-round pick, I would think, because you could get a young rookie running back coming out of in a third round and everything and stuff. Yeah, not Derrick Henry-esque and everything, but he's their team right now. Yeah, he should be mad, but hey, it's all part of the NFL. I mean, they do that every year in free agency. Everybody, if you ain't getting shopped, then the NFL team ain't doing their job.
I mean, honestly, it's like a badge of honor because he's a running back good enough to be shopped, right? You're right. I don't see a lot of trade value there. He's an aging running back with a lot of wear and tear, a lot of carries. Like he's on pace for a crap ton of carries again this year. So I don't see the value there for other teams, but it is fun to think about. Like, everybody thought, well, what if you put him on the Bills? What if you put him on, a contender? If you put him, I mean, it was rumored that San Diego was Eckler wanted out of San Diego, so swap Henry and Eckler there, and you put.
Can you imagine? Oh.
Derrick Henry and with Herbert, like, man, good for them, right? Like, it's fun to think about, but business wise, NFL wise, it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
So this is going to be the last year that Derrick Henry's with the Tennessee Titans. It's on top of his contract and the way they structured his contract, which would suggest they're going to move on from him. Now you have all of this riffraff because they restructured his deal. Or actually shenanigans, as Jason so eloquently put it. They restructured his contract so that he's making $10.5 million this year. After this year, he's only making $2.3 million the next 2 seasons. So, like, they're like, dude, we need to give you all this money now, and then we're not going to pay you the next 2 seasons. You really think that Derrick Henry is going to go play football for $2.3 million for the next 2 years? So I don't see them wanting to re-up that contract again for an aging running back, because he'll be 30 years old by the time he's playing for that $2.3 million. And that's why they're shopping him around. Just like you said, it's business, and they're doing their due diligence now. May as well try to offload him when he costs $10.5 million, and he's going to want to leave and go play somewhere else where he can make more than $2.3 million.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, so this was the news. As funny as it sounds, this is the news that got you guys the most excited before the show. That Irv Smith signed a $1.75 million deal to replace Hayden Hurst. Now, Smith for years has been the darling of late round fantasy football tight end guys. This year could actually bear that out. Hurst last year on 13 games had 52 receptions and plus 400 yards. He proved that there could be a third guy behind Chase and Higgins there. Somebody has to catch the ball besides those two. So is this the year of Irv Smith? And Justin, you jumped out so jubilantly. So let's go ahead and go with you first.
Oh man, I'm excited about Irv Smith with Joe Burrow and that offense. I mean, so yeah, Irv Smith was starting to show that he was going to be a great tight end in this league. And I'm not saying good tight end. I said what I meant to say, and that is a great tight end in this league before he got that last injury. And I did not understand the signing of TJ Hawkinson at the time, but I saw how much better it made that offense when he did come on. It made sense. They were trying to go for the title then. They thought they had a shot at a run at the Super Bowl last season. And he is obviously he's not TJ Hawkinson level. So, I mean, it makes sense. They increased their tight end position. But coming off of this injury, once he's fully healthy and he's back to playing his style of football in that offense, being the third, fourth guy for them to target, for the defense to target, dude, he's going to tear it up. He's going to be a fantasy football monster. He can block. He is also a blocking tight end, but he's not the greatest blocking tight end. But you can get anybody come in and block. But and as much as we love Hayden Hurst, we do love Hayden Hurst on the Toilets Titles podcast. Real opportunity that we may be able to like produce the Hayden Hurst podathon this year. Like we love the guy, but Irv Smith is going to be a great tight end. He's going to be a lot better than Hayden Hurst in that offense as well. And Hayden Hurst played really well in that offense. So I'm excited to see this for fantasy purposes. And with my wife being such a Bengals fan, I think she's going to be happy on Sundays too.
Man, you sound like a friend of mine, real close, Chill Daddy. Every year, I am so excited for Irv Smith. He is going to be top 5 caliber tight end. Man, he is a stud waiting to break out and everything. How long have we been saying this? 3 years now, right?
Okay. The last half of the season, this coming season, 2023, for the last half of the season, Irv Smith will be a top 5 tight end. I'll put that on the board.
All right, I'll take that.
All right. Well, now I got to figure out how to put it on the board.
Irv Smith is falling into the same situation he was in Minnesota. You have a stud receiver, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. You have a great running back in the backfield. You have although Thielen, Higgins is going to be but you had 2 receivers there, just like you have 2 receivers in. Look, he's going to put up Hayden Hurst numbers. Those are the numbers he's going to put up, and ain't going to be any more than that. And that's if he makes it through a season from not getting injured. Fool me once, fool me twice. You ain't fooling me 3 times. You didn't fool me the first time because I've never been on that board.
You know what's interesting is the Bengals keep signing these tight ends to 1-year deals, and they do relatively well, and then they move on and get a bigger contract. Good for them, though, right? Like, I mean, you got a tight end who's got some upside, and you paid him $1.75 million. Like, it's a steal. If he produces even at Hayden Hurst level from last year, $1.75 million is a steal. So I'm excited for the prospect. I will probably take him late in a lot of drafts. Best ball.
No, not if you have Jason drafting with you. I mean, not if you have Justin drafting with you.
Oh no, Justin will get him early, but
I'm
and you got a lot of those people in these drafts.
I'm still going to get him later because there's so many of you non-believers out there that you're going to let me have them for dirt cheap.
So, all right. Now this we're going to call because Coach demands it, because Coach demands one story about the Cowboys each week. We've got that they brought back defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins with a 1-year deal. Hankins was traded to the Cowboys last year with a 7th round pick for the Cowboys' 6th round pick. He totaled 10 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss in 5 games. Nobody really cares, but because Coach demands it, we have one Cowboys story. We don't have to discuss it.
Well, I do kind of care because it kind of ties in with the Raiders, but mute point.
We've also got Foster Moreau. He is out indefinitely for having Hodgkin's lymphoma. He credits the free agency physical process for catching the disease so early. The Saints staff were the ones who caught it. So talk about a silver lining. Yes, he is not going to be playing football for the foreseeable future. However, here's a guy who, under normal circumstances, if he was with the team and had a longer contract, and he was probably headed to a better contract than he had last time, he played well enough to get one. But here's a guy, because of this process, is now going to get care he needs so he can come back healthy and play again, versus just having this longer until they figure it out. So very cool thing that happened here on a pretty crappy story, but better to have this happen and find out. And Rich, you got your hands up. I know he was a Raider, so go for it.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was a Raider, but here's what I want to call out. Crappy story and everything, but kudos to the NFL for the medical staffing that they have at all teams. And here's the reason why I'm saying that. How often do we hear this story where during free agency, they're getting their physicals and stuff, and it's not even so much that. You catch it at the combine, too. These young players coming in, and they go through these physicals, and you find something that comes out from it that truly impacts the player positively for their life future, and maybe not so much the NFL and everything, but the fact it does catch these things for these players that, look, their life is all about football, correct? And then all of a sudden, they get this heartbreaking thing, but it turns their life around and everything to where it makes life more important than the game.
Yep. Hey, terrible story, but a good story. Hopefully we'll see a happy ending here shortly. He can get back to the field. And if he can't get back to the field, at least he gets to keep, walking around and breathing like the rest of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in some non-player news, like specific player news, offensive line, defensive line, tight end, linebacker, and running backs will now be mandated to wear the Guardian caps at practice. If you don't remember what the Guardian caps are, it's the big old pillow-looking covers that go over helmets. Makes everybody's head look twice the size, kind of like mine now. Yeah. I mean, look, it's player safety, right?
Yeah.
the NFL wants to pretend like they care about player safety, so we're going to keep doing this. They pretend like they care about player safety, but they're also going to make teams play a couple of Thursday night games a year potentially. So,
you know what I think? I think it would be really cool if they did this. If they had that mushroom head on there, and then you create this really thin layer of like this plastic type gel, plastic, whatever, to go around it to make it still look like sleek and stylish, but then it's still so weak that when they collide, it just shatters and flies everywhere. But it's made out of a soft enough material it's not going to like get in people's eyes and ruin or anything, but it would look like an amazing collision, but really it's just, a lot more safe.
How initially when I started this story, I thought it was going this direction, and it went this direction.
So look, I'm all for anything that keeps these guys safe, especially in the off season where, a concussion being a first concussion of the season in the off season has some real like issues for the regular season. Like I'm all for keeping these guys as safe as possible, as long as possible, while still allowing them like some full contact practice, so they're not getting hurt when they go out in the field and actually get contact for the first time during games. So like I'm all for it. It's just they are funny looking. Like the league doesn't really care, but they're trying, right? Like, it's good enough,
And if I'm a defensive back or a safety, I want that at practice too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, I get the wide receivers kind of like, because you're going to protect your wide receivers and your quarterback during practice anyway, like more so than you would these other positions. And that's why they selected these other positions to do this. But to me, a safety coming up for a blitz or a defensive back that, gets sideswiped on a bad crackback block where both of them aren't paying attention, the crossover routes and stuff like that. Like there's just, I'm just saying, if it's me, if I'm a defensive back or a safety, I'm probably going to want the mushroom head too.
I mean, look, if everybody else is wearing it now, I'll say, especially in these early practices, you probably get guys.
Everybody else is looking cool.
Yeah, no, I think probably these guys, especially safeties, defensive backs, like a lot of these guys are looking to make a team, right? And they're going to want every edge possible. And I can't imagine wearing that thing makes you faster.
That's true.
So I can imagine a lot of those guys don't want to wear it because they, now look, if every running back's wearing it, who's got the disadvantage? Everybody's wearing it. But I probably, if I'm a DB, I'm not asking for it if no other DBs are wearing it because it's not going to make me faster. So
I guess that's true. The first couple of practices are going to look like toddlers out there, like 2-year-olds with the big heads and the small bodies trying to figure out how to run with it.
Oh, or like those sumo suits you put in kids in and whatever and have them run it. Yeah, that's good. All right, players can now wear the number 0. Calvin Ridley is the first confirmed player to switch to the number 0. Are there any players you actually want to see?
I think that Calvin Ridley bet that he would be the first one. That's why he placed the request so soon.
What player on your Colts team would wear 0, Justin?
I know Paris Campbell would have, but I know he's obviously with the Giants now. But Paris Campbell absolutely is that kind of guy that he probably would have, and I would have loved to have seen it. But
Jason, what about your Bucks?
No.
Oh man, it's got to be one of the kicker. It's probably a kicker. I don't know.
I'm saying the punter.
Here's the thing about it. If you're allowed to change numbers now, and they opened up numbers for most players, it's odd. Defensive line and offensive line are not allowed to wear 0 for whatever reason. Like it's mostly like quarterback or whatever. Baker Mayfield for Tampa, probably a 0 guy, right? And but it's got to be. It's got to be a player that switched teams, because what the NFL does, and I don't know if you guys know this, but what the NFL does is if you change your number, you're allowed to change your number whenever you want. You can change it from year to year. The player actually has to go buy the NFL stockpile of jerseys for the old number in order to do that. So all
right, say that one more time.
So, like, the player has to go buy the stockpile of old numbered jerseys. So, if the NFL printed off a bunch of, like, Calvin Ridley and Falcon, whatever numbers, and he was still a Falcon and wanted to 0, he had to buy those jerseys so he could use the new number. So, that
now's the time for Paris Campbell to do it.
Exactly. Like that. So, players moving teams or guys, I mean, defensive line and offensive line would be perfect for this because, like, for the most part, they're not printing a bunch of like defensive lineman jerseys or offensive lineman jerseys. So like those guys would make sense. punter and kicker makes sense, or like a Baker Mayfield who switched teams. There was no Tampa Bay Baker Mayfield, whatever his old number was, because I never paid attention to it. So those are the guys I think that are going to go to zero, or guys that have absurd contracts that can just afford to buy a bunch of jerseys anyway.
So wherever Matt Ryan ends up, he can finally get the big zero he deserves.
I mean, I feel like he got that from the Colts.
Well, I mean, they should have saw it coming the last couple seasons with the Falcons, and here I was shooting that horn, thinking that he had one more good season left in him.
Am I wrong, or did I hear? Or maybe it might have been an April Fool's thing, but he signed as a backup with the Saints.
I think that was an April. I did not hear. I mean, I'll Google it real fast, but because the Saints already have Jameis Winston as a backup.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So I have to imagine that's. But hey, good for them.
But most recent news on Matt Ryan is it was just where he got cut.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, there are two ownership groups putting together $6 billion to take over the Washington Commanders. The first group's led by the 76ers governor, Josh Harris, and NBA Hall of Famer Magic Johnson. They've got a fully financed bid of $6 billion. And then there's one Canadian billionaire, Steve, and I probably should have read that name a couple times before we tried this. We're not going to do that.
Apostopoulos.
There you go, Apostopoulos. That can't be that can't be a real name.
It's a post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. Anyway, a Canadian billionaire has also got a fully funded bid of $6 billion. So it looks like Daniel Snyder is going to get much richer for being a terrible human being.
Which, to go full circle, was a big reason why everybody thought that the Commanders were going to be big lead contenders for Lamar Jackson, thinking that he was going to try to screw the team over, give away all their draft picks, and give them this huge contract, multi-million-dollar contract, and then sell the team and leave. So, I mean, it's still possible.
It's possible, but here's the thing: like, I think you do that, and all of a sudden, $6 billion becomes 5.5 because, like, it's the team's, the team's slightly less valuable. So financially, it probably doesn't make sense for you to do that. Also, even if you did do that, sure, you would be handcuffing the team for a bit, and you're not really a team that's a contender that it would make sense for, really. But like, it would drive people to the stadium. So maybe you're just you're doing that. You're getting a popular player, and guys come and see him. So that might be too good for the team for the team you're selling to.
That's fair.
I don't know. I got a couple bucks in my pocket, man. Like, do you think we could get to $6 billion?
Not with my help.
No, I'd have to go send everything back that and I still would even be a 0.01% close.
If
Lori
says if we clean out the Toilets to Titles bank account, I think we can all go to Waffle House.
I'm not sure about that, but have you seen the way George and I eat? You guys might not make it to Waffle House. Lori says no, we're not buying an NFL franchise, so I guess not this week.
I've tried.
But think about the kickback.
She just doesn't love me.
All right, guys, that's all the notes I have for this roundtable this week. I appreciate you guys jumping on with me. I know Frito and I are going to be regulars. Justin is going to be on whenever he gets a chance. I hope he is a regular. I'd like to have Lori on. We can talk Joe Burrow a bit.
That's I mean, she could probably talk for hours about Joe Burrow. So are we supposed to try to keep this under 45 minutes? If so, I apologize for dragging on. That was my fault.
we said half hour, 45 minutes. So with that, again, guys, go to toiletstitles.com. You can check out our articles, all of our other shows. Go to Toilets Titles on YouTube. Like and subscribe. We're so close to 1,000. That's a number we've been hitting since I joined the team. That's the one that we've been targeting, and we are so close to being there. We'll be there before the draft. So be a part of it. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Twitch, When a Family Breaks on Facebook, and you can catch us on Spotify. Again, we've got shows all week. We've got a Tuesday night flagship show. We've got the Cowboys show. We've got a New York Giants show. We've got college football. You name it, we've got it. we've got draft talk coming up. We've got mock lavatory where George keeps doing these mock drafts. Jump into one of our mock drafts, guys. If you like what you see, jump into the mock drafts with George. And I mean, he runs them all the damn time. I don't know where he gets the energy. I know he's working for himself, so he's sitting in the bathroom at some construction site doing mock drafts now. So he's doing that. We've got all the great hosts. We've got all the great articles. We've got all the great shows. Stay with us. And for us on the roundtable, thank you for watching tonight. Good night.